Good morning, HWC kids. Are you a good gardener? You can ask my family, but I am not very good at keeping plants alive. Plants only need 3 things to survive, don't they? Good soil, water, and sunlight. But I always seem to either give them too much or too little of one of those things, and I end up killing them. It's why most of my plants look like this. Very fake. At this point, I've offloaded most of my real plants to people who know what they are doing and can nurse them back to health and keep them alive. People are a little like plants, aren't they? We only really need 4 things to survive: food, water, air, and shelter. Not enough or too much of those things can be dangerous for us. For instance, more than about 3 minutes without air could make our body shut down. 3 days without water or 3 weeks without any food is not enough to keep us alive. Now, there are other things that we like to have, aren't there? Like clothes and toys, books, dessert, cars, pets. But if you really think about it, we can survive without those things, can't we? And there are people all over the world who do. Sometimes, when we don't have those things, though, we get a little bit grumbly. Well, this week we're continuing to talk about the Israelites. And you know what? After God had rescued them from slavery in Egypt and protected them from the Egyptians by making a path through the Red Sea, they still got a little bit grumbly. Let's see why. God had rescued his people from Egypt. Now they were out in the desert with no place of their own. They needed a new home. But God had already thought of that. Remember God's promise to Abraham? God had promised him an enormous family and a beautiful place for that family to live. I will give you everything you need, God told his people. All God's people had to do was follow him from where they were, the hot, dry, dusty desert, to where he wanted them to be, somewhere wonderful, full of good things. So off they set, walking through the desert, but as soon as they started to get hot and dirty and thirsty, which wasn't long at all, they started to grumble. God's people were good at forgetting. Sometimes they forgot all the good things God had done. Sometimes they forgot what he had promised. They forgot to trust him. So they grumbled about being hot and complained about being tired. They thought God wasn't looking after them at all, but he was. In the middle of the desert, God took them to a special place with wonderful springs of fresh water to drink and cool, shady trees to sit under. He was showing them how much he cared about them. Soon, God's people were grumbling again. Life in the desert is too hard, they complained. What will we do when we have no more food? But God was looking after them. One morning they woke up and found something called manna all over the ground. Moses told them that it was for making bread. Every morning they gathered just enough for the day. So God's people kept traveling, and every day God made sure that they had what they needed. The Israelites were hungry and thirsty and tired, but did you catch that last part? It said, every day God made sure that they had what they needed. They grumbled about everything they didn't have, but God reminded them that they could trust him to provide what they needed every day. God knows what we need because he created us and he loves us. We can trust him every day to give us what we need for that day, whether it's food and water, safety, a friend, a kind word, or the promise of his love and grace, forgiveness, and presence. So today, instead of grumbling about what you don't have, let's find at least one thing to be thankful for. And don't forget to water your plants. Have a great day.